Alrighty. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Holland Battle Frontiers Season 9 Abyssal Division Power Rankings. I wanted to say Rower Pankings, but that
It would have been fun.
you can tell it's late it would have been funny. You can tell it's late at night while we're recording this. Well, the two of us are your hosts for tonight or this morning, whenever you are actually watching this video. My name is S,
And
and
this is Necro, your Abyssal admin, who fittingly is doing these PRs. So,
yep, and I am some rando moderator that doesn't technically deserve the job because I haven't really done that much, but whatever. Anyway,
but it's good at the
welcome.
comedy.
It is very good comedy. Also, I'm one of the biggest perfection names in the league. Yada yada yada. Math. So before we get
Yes.
into power rankings, we should go through a couple of disclaimers first.
Yes.
First big one. This is largely opinionated. Us shitting on your team does not necessarily mean we are shitting on you. And some of these things are very likely going to be incorrect and wrong because we are individual people with our individual biases. And some of these biases are kind of shit.
True. Yeah.
Let's see, is that the big disclaimer? Also, other disclaimer, there will be cursing in this video, so if you do not enjoy cussing, be gone.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that's really gonna be that's the big content warning. If you don't care, stick around and prepare for the wonderful comedy. We've already been doing this intro for 2 minutes. We don't need to continue doing this. Are we ready to head on to our first team?
I think we are. So let's head on.
Let's rock and roll.
All right.
We didn't actually put these slides in ranked order. We're gonna rank all the teams at the end, and by at the end, we mean periodically. We have a tier list. You may be able to see it on the screen. It's in a separate tab.
Here's
but
the tier list. We will
yeah,
be populating this as we go.
Yeah, and don't pay no mind to the names of the top and bottom tiers. Anyway, we start with our first of two Evans. Evan,
Yes.
This is gonna be so stinking weird to talk about.
We'll call the other one 63.
Yes, the other one is 63. Oh man, don't these two fight in week 4?
Yes. There is the epic
Battle
Evan
of
v
the
Evan
Evans.
matchup coming. So stay tuned for that. I don't think it'll be quite as hype as the How v Missouri matchup, but
what even is the story of the How v Missouri matchup?
I think they know each other IRL. I think.
Oh, that's pretty fun.
Yeah. I actually
I used to have a couple of matchups like that. I don't know. I used to have a couple of matchups like that because I met someone I used to play Draft League with at a summer camp. But anyway, this is as is the case in every division, this is the round 1, pick 1 Mellow Mime team.
As is tradition.
Meaning, hey, it has one of the best Insurgents guys. So how do we follow that up? Delta Vespiquen. Okay.
It's not a bad mon by any means, but there isn't necessarily an immediate synergy there with Mime. But
I mean, it's
there was a steal.
I don't know. People are addicted to pivoting.
True.
You know, you see these first 4 Pokemon, and it's like, okay, pivot move, pivot move, pivot move, pivot move. Porygon 2 and Lantern are down there as slow pivot move options.
Yep.
But then you're looking at the rest of this team, and it's like, okay, what are you pivoting into? You have Mime and Urshifu. Blaziken can... Okay, Blaziken's actually pretty important. Superior's kind of big. Also, the random Tyrantrum. I will always approve of a good head smash button.
True.
So that would be nice and helpful. Especially because it's unironically your best option for flying types.
Yeah, that is fair. Yeah, that is the only super... Well, unless you count Terra Lantern as your anti-flying measure, but...
That's a pretty darn good flying resist, though.
Oh, resist-wise, yes. But if we're talking about
you ever tried to bust through a Lantern with Tornadus T?
That's pretty hard. Yeah.
It's rough stuff. But anyway, we have written down on these wonderful slides every team gets a funny one-liner from each of us, and this is contradictory nonsense. So I guess, what do you think makes this team mid in a good way, Necro?
So basically, when I wrote mid, but in a good way, I literally mean almost every single mon on this team after the first four is worth the same point value. So like basically everything from Clodsire on is basically between, I think it's between 11 and 6. So like there's not like normally the case with Draft League, you have teams that are usually fairly top heavy, and this is very much not that. This is trying to keep everything, like have a core that's basically just after the initial four, just kind of across the board trying to cover everything. And like I feel like most of the pieces that you want are here. Like the here I can go to the resist
Yeah.
profile
If
here.
you want a yeah,
Other than ice, which this is going to be a recurring theme, I have written down. Note this for later.
notes for later.
The rest of the resist profiles in this actually look decently solid. Like even like here with like fighting and fairy and ground, they still have like a decent number of like they have 2 ground immunities. They've got like a decent number of fairy and fighting resists, and because all the mons are mid, so to speak, none of those are like sus per se. Like sometimes you'll have it. Well, there'll definitely be cases later on that we'll talk about where it's like, oh, your like resist is like a mon with like 50 base defense, and it's like, well, that isn't gonna work. But like here, the like especially the defensive profile, I think actually is fairly well rounded out with these mid tiers here with like Claude plus P2 plus Lantern, and plus Vespiquen. So like
Mhm.
really the thing that yeah does kind of stick out is that after Mime, the offense does kind of fall off. I think is kind of what I think maybe you were getting at with the mid, but in a bad way. Because it's like if someone has good answers to like the few main offensive threats you have, you're gonna have a lot of trouble making progress. I think.
That is pretty fair. The main reason I put mid in a bad way is I see a lot of interesting opportunity cost things on this team.
Okay.
I have 2 primary concerns, and they are in Clodsire and Porygon. I'll start with Clodsire.
Sure.
Clodsire's not really a guy that works on offensive teams. It just completely kills any initiative and momentum you have.
Yeah.
And with this being, I'm not going to say your ground because it's not your only electric immunity. You have Lantern for that.
Yeah.
But the fact that this is one of your 2 fairy switch-ins, this is probably your best fighting type switch-in as well. It seems like it's central to what the team's trying to do, but it's so antithetical to every other way the team wants to play the game that
I can
I
see what you
could not
mean.
really, in good faith, deal with that. I just don't understand why it's here half the time. If you're looking for an answer to a good fighter, you have Koffagrigus and you're Blaziken for that. If you're looking for water and electric immunities, that's what Lantern's doing, and to a lesser extent, you can get Superior in on that job. It's just a weird ground that loses to other grounds. I guess it's not even your best rocker, nor is it your only T-spiker.
Sure. Koffagrigus also does have T spikes. So.
Yeah. You mentioned that everything past the top 4 is between 6 and 11. Fun bit of trivia. It is every value between 6 and 11.
Oh, that is a fun little bit of trivia.
This
So.
team has a 6, a 7, an 8, a 9, a 10, and an 11.
Huh.
Yeah. So my second big grievance is with the Porygon. And
Yeah.
this is not saying Porygon sucks. Porygon 2 is ridiculous. Porygon 2 is awesome. Porygon 2 is exactly what your team is looking for. So why isn't it the Terra Captain?
True. I assume the main reason is that P2 can't. I think they wanted to use Terra Blaziken, and you can't use Blaziken and P2 based off the Terra rules.
Yeah, that I suppose makes sense. But terrestrializing Porygon just seems better. I don't know exactly what Delta Blaziken would do with Terra outside of get its mid typing out of the way and try
Yeah,
to attack with fire moves. But that's not really something it needs. You save 3 points by going Terra P2 because it doesn't actually increase Porygon 2's price at all. Very
oh right,
strangely.
yeah.
And getting Porygon 2 out of its normal typing can be a massive boon in plethora of different matchups.
Hmm.
Yeah, and Terra Blaziken could potentially do just massive amounts of stuff and be an incredibly annoying little guy.
Hmm.
My big critique would be just Clodsire doesn't belong here, and you can get something far, far better than that, especially when you're going up 3 points. Like, if you want a reasonably fat ground type, especially for this team, my recommendation move the Terastallization to Porygon 2 and get yourself an Ursa Luna.
Yeah, I mean they could. There's
You
just
got P2 Coffagrigas for weird trick room stuff if you really feel like you need it, and with a whole bunch of pivoting, that's the kind of slow break you're really in the market for.
yeah, I could see it. They'd have to probably get rid of the Tyrantrum though, which means no more funny head smash button. But
Who said you had to get rid of Tyrantrum?
I mean, don't they need the budget?
If you move the Terra from Blaziken to Porygon, you get the budget.
Wait, really? Clodsire is only 3 points less than Arceluna.
Yes, Clodsire's in 11, and Ursa Luna is in 14.
I kind of forgot that Clodsire was that expensive.
Yeah,
Okay,
Clodsire's
yeah,
kind of because there's a bunch of setup and surges. You definitely don't need to do this. Clodsire resisting fighting and trading that out for a weakness is a pretty big deal, but you're also getting Terra Porygon, which is an
really good Terra
incredible
move.
glue poke.
Yeah,
Yeah, just little
it's an
weird bits
option.
of nonsense. This team is overall genuinely solid. It's largely going to be based on the back of just how much Mime can do,
Yeah, yeah,
because
it's
that
definitely
thing
not a
is an
bad team
annoying,
by
pissy
any means.
nightmare to deal with. And it team's got a ton of options for pretty much every scenario.
Yeah,
The reason it's mid is because none of its options are the most amazing. It's relatively unfocused, but it's kind of in the versatility market anyway. So
yeah.
unfocused is part of its nature.
Shall we tier it now?
Yeah, let's tier it.
All right.
So we have our wonderful tiers here. Starting from the bottom, we have Div 5, which
Yep.
is relegation, if relegation existed here. Unfortunately, we are not European sports. We are American sports, and there is no relegation in American sports, much to the chagrin of many. Then we have might win a game, won't make playoffs, could make playoffs, shoe in for playoffs, and going to hell. This is a good thing because it means you're getting promoted to Infernal.
So
I kind of like
where are
this
we
team
feeling this?
in could make playoffs.
I
This
was
team is
I was about to suggest that.
genuinely
Yeah,
solid.
it's definitely
Yeah,
solid enough that I think it has a lot of potential. So
yeah. This team's got fantastic potential, and it's largely going to come down to piloting.
yeah,
Yeah, this is the kind of team where it is exactly as good as its coach. No more, no less.
yeah. See, it's like a high skill ceiling kind of team.
Yeah, high skill ceiling, low skill floor.
Yeah.
Definitely get it.
Okay. Let's move on to. Oh, we already talked about that.
Yeah, the
Moving on to
second of the
how.
game. Halatory. Do you want to kick this one off? I've been doing a whole lot of talking.
Yeah, sure, we can talk about this a bit. So, starting with, of course, one of my overall favorite mons being Mega Milotic. Always good to see that being taken early. Um, but then, yeah, so tying into S's comment here, there's a lot of Pokemon on this team that normally have like other specific support scenarios with them. So, like for example, we have round 2 Excadrill with no sand. We have round 3 Sneasler with no terrain. We have round 5 Delta Scizor with no snow. And then we've got well, technically two Shell Smash mons, but Clamperl is like kind of a little bit of an exception to that in regards to like Shell Smash mons go with no like clear screen setter. So like there's kind of a little bit of disjoint action going on with this, but like it's not like it's not like it's like egregious though. Like a lot of the like basic core pieces you would want are there. It's just the synergy is a bit odd.
Mm. I would like to add on to the odd synergies by talking about the Milotic. Milotic isn't especially specially tanky water, and normally to go with a great special option, you get yourself a fantastic physical option,
There
and
isn't.
I don't really see that presented here.
The closest you get is like Fizz Def Flame Body Moltres.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, fantastic Pokemon. Nearly every physical attacker just chucks on a rock move and calls it a day.
Yeah, that is definitely a potential issue.
Not particularly what you're looking for. Additionally, with Mega Milotic, that Pokemon has 3 weaknesses: Grass, Electric, and Poison. You're generally looking for something that can take on all 3, and this team doesn't really have that at all. Closest it comes is Sinistra.
Yeah. I mean, let's see,
I also just
like,
don't know what Sinistra does, so that might just be me.
I mean, there's like elements of things that could take those on, because like Reuniclus resists poison, Sinistra resists grass and electric, so like there's elements there, but yeah, like the point about the physical
Wait,
wall action, that is
Sinistra
like
has 106 defense?
yeah,
Wait, this one's broken.
it's actually pretty good. Yeah. Especially with Terra. Terra Sinistra is actually a pretty solid Terra captain. So like
Never mind, I take it all back. This one looks gas. Why does it have heat proof? Anyway.
yeah. It's an interesting one. And then yeah, it gets Strength Sap for recovery, it gets Calm Mind. Like it has a move, its signature move is Giga Drain plus Scald at the same time. Like it's pretty good. But yeah, there's definitely still some awkward elements here. Though shout out Clamperl. I love that mod. S can attest to the fact I won a league once using Clamperl in standard, where there's no Trick Rock. I brought it to finals.
Yeah.
It got
You
multiple
did
kills.
bring it to that finals game.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
But let's see, is there anything else particular we want to say about
Oh, yes, something I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
Setup. A lot of this team's offense seems fairly setup reliant, especially for trying to punch through some ridiculous goobers. I should probably not be saying that when there's a Delta Scizor on my screen. That can slap on a choice band and call it a day.
Like
Low
both
kicks?
of those mods.
Oh yeah, that Pokemon is like 100 attack.
Yeah, but it's like 100 attack tinted lens. That thing is actually kind of hard to switch into sometimes.
I suppose you're right. Delta Regirock though.
Okay, yes, but
yeah, this team's special attacking is a pair of Shell Smashers.
That is, yeah.
And this team physical attacking is 3 Swords Dancers. If you count Low Kicks as a Swords Dancer, 4 Swords Dancers. That probably just means, hey, the entire offensive core has a setup mode.
I mean, there are some of these mods definitely do have non-SD sets that are solid, like Sneasler. Choice Sneasler is fine. Scarf Excadrill is a thing sometimes.
And will probably be necessary given this team's speed problems.
Oh, yeah, you do have the kind of semi-awkward speed gap between Low Kicks and Sneasler there. Yeah, for
You've
sure.
got some pretty solid priority options, and Mega Milotic is renowned for its ability to screw over entire speedster cores.
True. Because Scizor Low Kicks is like pretty solid priority, so like he could probably work around it.
Yeah, this is very reasonable.
Yeah.
It's a lot of hodgepodge, but I have a feeling a good number of these teams are going to be pretty hodgepodge. Also, if you think the speed gap at the top of 28 is bad, you have seen nothing.
Yeah, so we'll be getting to that another team like that later. Let's just oh right, I forgot I wanted to comment on this. This team is actually very flying weak. Uh, so like you'll see here that there's 4 flying weak mons, and let's look at what the resists are. Excadrill and a Delta Ridiculous. So Hurricane. Basically you're relying on Milo to tank all hurricanes. If not, then you're gonna have a lot of trouble. Granted,
Especially
Milo
because
does eat
Sinistcha
hurricanes
tearing
very
out
well.
of hurricanes. True, Mega Milotic does take hurricanes very well, and terastallizing Sinistcha out of a flying weakness works for Brave Birds.
Yeah.
Just Brave Birds, though.
Yeah. So it might be workable, but also worthy of note. All right, shall we tier this one then?
Yeah, let's do this one.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I think we probably are in agreement. This is, I think we're in agreement. This is worse than Evan's team.
Yes, this is worse than the previous one.
Is it a tier worse, or are we just gonna put it behind Evan?
I think just a step down from Evan, not a full tier.
So here.
Yeah, just there.
Okay.
Wonderful.
I think it's reasonable. I mean, we can adjust at the end as well if we're
absolutely. If we
feeling it.
start differing on some piece of nonsense, I see a 1,000-year door ad in the top corner of your screen, and I'm just like,
Yes.
yo.
All right. So let's move on then.
Anyway, team number 3
is Pika-Kip. You want to start off with
this one? I would like to know, Mix Pika-Kip, how you managed to draft a team with 5 waters on it that isn't rain. I have never seen anyone do this before.
It is impressive.
It is quite impressive. When I went nonsensical on one given type, I drafted 3 rocks. I didn't go to 5. How did you manage 5?
And like, I've had multiple. I actually have had multiple concurrent teams that had 3 ice types on them. But I don't think I have ever quite reached this level.
Yeah, getting to 5 is an accomplishment. Also, 3 of them were consecutive at the end of the draft. Yep. Homie looked at their team's problems while building it and was like, you know what this team with 2 water types needs? 3 more water types.
That's right.
We'll get to that at a later point in time, but we have to look at a team with Chin-Pao, Mega Delta Frostlass, Ogerpon, Wellspring, Great Tusk as the top end of the power.
That is a pretty solid top end.
And really does anything.
Like, the offensive potential of this team is quite solid. Like, looking at the top 4 alone is pretty scary to have to face. But of course, obviously, when you draft 5 water types, you do have some issues. But actually, interestingly enough, the most major issue does not have to do with the water types. It is the fact that your only ground resist is Ogerpon. So
before you make a terrestrialization comment, no, Shiftry is not a real Pokemon.
Yeah, and also, yeah, the other big thing is, of course, because there are 5 water types, you're electric.
Water types.
But one of your immunities is a Delta Shiftry, which is not a real Pokemon.
Not a real Pokemon. Absolutely not. Granted, the other one is the
other one is Great Tusk.
Great Tusk.
So that's like one of the best ones.
Which is a darn good electric immunity, unless that electric is a special attacker, in which case it kicks any other move and you take half.
This is very fair. And unfortunately, a lot of electrics are special.
And the ones that aren't are mixed.
Yeah. There are very few purely physical electric types.
Yeah, I see Tapu Koko looking at this team and just Pika kept crying. I don't know.
Yeah,
How does
like
this team beat a Tapu Koko?
it does not.
It Chen Pows it and tears Magmortar out of it. That is what I've got.
Pretty much.
But
I
anyway, what does this actually do on the good sides? Well, it clicks Chenpao, Great Tusk, and Frostlass buttons. And those are some of the buttons of all time.
This is true.
Because you have Great Tusk and Tentacruel, that's pretty decent removal. Like,
Yep.
I would prefer a third removal option, but two, when they're that good, definitely works.
Mm-hmm.
It also helps that they are supporting a Magic Guard and two Regenerator guys.
Yep. And you also have like a decent amount of pivoting potential here to get in. Like Slowking into Chenpao is obviously quite solid because you can chill your reception into it and then you get the defense boost. Then you also have
Indeed.
Tinkaton, Tentacruel, Magmortar, and Aloe that all can pivot into the top 4 as well. So like that's also quite solid.
Wait, Tinkaton can pivot?
Wait, doesn't Tinkaton get you a turn? Am I making that up?
No. You are thinking about HDA.
I think I am probably thinking about Bird Murderer. That
You
sounds
are thinking
accurate.
about Bird Murderer.
Which I don't think anyone is going to understand that reference, but it's okay. Don't worry about it.
The real OGs, no.
Yes.
Anyways.
I
So
guess
yeah, we got
Pikachus
physical bulk,
exactly will
we got
know what that
special
is.
bulk, we got 5 water types. You wanna wink this team?
Yeah, we can rank it.
Yeah. I think this is in won't. This team
Yeah,
is not
it's
bad enough
awkward.
to be in might, but this is a yikers. This team has 5 water types, and it's not rain.
Like the top 4 offense is crazy, but the rest falls a little flat. Like if you can just maintain enough offensive momentum, you could potentially do something with this, but it's gonna be really awkward to pilot, I think.
This cake got great frosting and shit filling.
Indeed. Alright. Let's move on.
Yeah, number 4.
We have Bajit.
The Icebreakers. Where is the speed? Why do you cap out at an item locked 110?
Yeah, that's the biggest problem that I immediately saw with this team is yeah, your speed cap is not great.
Yeah. And so the next thing I come to when I see a not great speed cap is, oh, teams have succeeded in this league with not great speed caps before. Necro did something really good when his speed cap was a 95. What
That's
kind of
right.
thing was he running there? He was running Trick Room. What's this team's Trick Room setter? Delta Graveler.
Yeah, like the thing is that there even is arguably like you have Alolan Marowak that's like actually like
What is here?
is a pretty good trick room
You can do Mega
abuser.
Polymorph things in Trick Room. You can do some crazy stuff. You just have no setter.
Yeah, like not having the setter on this team is very unfortunate. Well, not having a real setter on this team is very unfortunate.
Yeah. Bit of a big deal.
But I mean, okay, there's positives here though. Like Delta Shandy obviously is always really crazy. It's great special offense. You have Mega Poliwrath is a solid mon. I actually admittedly don't have a ton of experience watching it in action, but on paper it seems to be pretty solid, so definitely could do some stuff with that. You've
My
got
limited knowledge of Mega Poliwrath is you click Hypnosis and then you click Focus Punch, and sometimes you click Dynamic Punch and Liquidation too.
those
But
are
yes,
also good.
you have no guard Hypnosis. Remember that.
Yeah. And like Corbinite Milo is like a decently solid defensive core. Uh, the shared electric weakness is a little bit of an issue, but that is backed up by you have a Terra Flagon, which is a very good Terra Captain.
Indeed. Ogerpon and Hydreigon are also pretty nice electric resists.
Yeah, they're solid. They could work in a pinch for sure.
I trust those guys with a good number of electrics. Not all of them, but a number of them.
Hydra can
Once
check
again,
most of them.
this team hates Tapu Koko.
Yes, we are noticing a well. Oh no, hold on.
Wait, no, we have
There's
Alolan.
an Alolan Marowak, the OG Tapu Koko counter.
The OG. We found it, folks.
We will simply bring the Marowak in the Koko matchup. It'll be fine. But yeah, I mean, there's like decent amount of pivoting potential here. Removals, I guess mostly Corvin. I guess technically Hydra and technically Flygon. Like last two don't really want to run it, but can.
It's Corviknight. Corviknight is a very good defogger.
Yeah, I mean, Corviknight is going to be your defogger 90% of the time.
We are not complaining about the goodness of your Corviknight.
The rockers are a little awkward here. It is Hydra, Graveler, and Flygon.
And Alowak. And Luxray, I think.
Luxray does not. It only gets spikes and T-spikes.
Ah, okay.
Okay, yeah,
yeah.
and also Marowak. Yeah, Marowak is an option. Though you do have
I feel like
spikes
it's going to come up a
and
lot.
Luxray. And Luxray does give you T-spikes.
Yeah.
I could take a quick look here at the type chart. Actually, nothing particularly noteworthy here. I mean, you've got this ground weakness here, but there's 3 immunities, so like that ends up actually not being too huge.
And you don't even get rolled by Excadrill or Megadon fans, so we don't have to make another HDA joke.
That's right. Because there's a Corviknight.
There's a Corviknight for the drill, and you got 2 levitators for the Megadon fan that actually got drafted in this division, so it's a real thing people have to look out for.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, there's definitely some decently solid aspects of this team. The biggest issue, yeah, definitely being the speed, but
yeah,
the rest of it is decently well-rounded.
I would say, to generally summarize this team is good. Other teams are better.
That's a decent way to put it, yeah. Alright, let's tear it.
Yeah, let's check it in here.
So we putting this in could make playoffs, or are we giving Pika Kip a friend?
The team has too much oomph behind it. I think it's at the bottom of could.
Okay, I think that's reasonable.
But it's going to get let down by its speed problems. It's absolutely going to get let down by its speed problems.
It's definitely a big issue, yeah.
Especially because it has relatively limited options to either circumnavigate, fix, or ignore them.
Right, actually, yeah, another thing worthy of note here is there's basically no priority in this team. So you can't use that as a failsafe to deal with it. Your priority is first impression Flygon. Like, straight up, I think is your priority option.
Yeah, that's not relevant.
That's not great, yeah. It's certainly not reliable enough to fix the inherent flaw.
Yeah. And of course there are scarfers, but somebody just scarf something else, and what do you do about a scarf 105?
Right, because like, and even like you can scarf Flygon, but especially in this meta, the opportunity cost of having to scarf it over being able to give it armor is really big, especially with Terra. And,
yeah, it can be.
Like, Scarf Hydra is obviously fine, but like after that, then your next fastest mon that you would want to ever scarf is Shandy. So like it gets pretty awkward pretty fast from there. But I think we've pretty well talked about that enough. Shall we move on?
We talked about that. Yeah.
All right, let's go on to Narcoleptic. So, first, very obvious thing on this team. There's a Coco Valiant on our screen.
Yeah.
That's scary. That's always scary. It is Definitely not
And then
something to be
you
taken
add
lightly.
that's not the only Quark Drive Mon, and there are webs here.
Yeah. Like, that Valiant is going to be a huge menace with the terrain support. Like, that is going to be very difficult to deal with, for sure. Let's see. So what else we got going on here? So yes, this team does not have a speed issue because you have Coco Valiant, both of which are decently fast. Plus, you have the Valiant getting the speed boost from terrain, so like you're not worried about that. And then, as also mentioned, there is a Spider Tang here, so you also have the webs option if you so desire. Uh, let's see. So physical, well, I mean Valiant's a mixed attacker, so like you can kind of group it in with either, but like. Other major physical offense, we got Megadon Fan, we got Iron Thorns, both of which are pretty solid physical offensive mons.
And a great number of Celesteela sets.
True, yeah, you've got Celesteela is always just a solid overall defensive mon.
Yeah, let's
One big thing
chalk that under mixed.
One big thing I'm noticing actually about the defensive aspect of this team, unlike S's draft, which has literally every mon with reliable recovery, this draft only mon with reliable recovery is Driftblim, I think. And even
no,
that is...
it's Coco.
Oh, true. Coco is Roost. But, like, okay, of the defensive core, the only reliable recovery is Driftblim.
Also has strength set.
Yeah.
You are correct. Driftblim does have healing.
So, this team could potentially have issues with longevity. But, at the same time, there's also a Coco Valiant. So, like, that might not...
Who gives a shit?
Might not actually be that big of an issue. Let's take a quick look at the type chart.
I can also just foresee if somebody can take Valiant down, this team just doesn't have the gas to carry it across the finish line because it just doesn't last very long in any particular game.
If Valiant goes down, here, let's go back here for a second. If Valiant goes down, this team's offense beyond Valiant, just doesn't really have the power to close out games. Like, if you're not closing out games with Valiant, I'm not really sure how you're closing out games here. Like,
it's got some fantastic absolute oomph piles, but Gudra and Golem on Terra duty instead of Iron Thorns feels criminal.
Not tearing Iron Thorns is interesting for sure, yeah. Especially when you have Coco. Like, that seems like probably a much more optimal
team to have taken Iron Thorns across all divisions.
Yeah. Like, it might be worth looking into taking the Terra off of probably... actually, could they Terra both Gudra and Thorns? Are they allowed to do that with the point cap?
I would have to double check the nature of the point cap, but...
The point cap is 22.
Oh, it's 22? Yes, you can Terra, Gudra, and Thorns. The problem here is in actual budget.
I mean, don't you just drop the Ferret?
You'd have to drop the Driftblim.
Okay.
Because it's 3 extra points. And Driftblim is unironically... Okay, no, it's not your best fighting resist. That's what Matang does.
Yeah, Spider Tang is actually...
But it's pretty key to the fighting resist plan. Yeah, dropping Driftblim and switching Terra could make a lot of sense. Although I suppose they wanted to Terra Golem to do regenerator stuff and not have to deal with 2 rock types.
Potentially. Okay. But yes. Now let's talk about the type chart here for a second. Or the resistances chart for a second. So back to the theme from Evan. We have a team that somehow has 4 Ice Weak Mons on it. Again.
And the resistance is Manaphy.
Resist is Manaphy. Which is like fine. It's a Pixie Mon, like
until freeze dry happens.
Okay, yes, there is 0 freeze dry resist. This is a fair point. However, this is further complicated by the fact that there's also 4 water weak mons on this team, and 2 water resists, one of which is Manaphy, and then the other one is, okay, Gudra. That's actually not a bad one. Like, it's maybe workable, but having 2 cases where there's 2 types that are super effective on, like, half your team is really rough. Especially
It
when one of
doesn't
them you
help
only...
that this team doesn't want to switch into Scald ever.
Right. Because, like... I mean... Manaphy... Actually, both of the water resists don't really care about being burnt.
I will understand it with Manaphy, but Gudra values its health too much to be wanting to take that sort of 6% chip damage.
I guess that's fair,
And
actually.
as we mentioned, this team has no sustain.
Right. That is, I guess, the issue, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I can see plenty of teams just folding to Coco Valiant because it's Coco Valiant.
Yeah.
But in my bias towards the how do I not lose variants of Mons, I don't like this very much.
Yeah. I think we've covered most of the main points here. Shall we tier it?
Yeah, let's tier it.
Okay. So Coco Valiant's crazy.
It can be.
So, like, from that alone, there's an argument that it maybe Shibian could make playoffs, but there is also the issue of all the other stuff that's holding it back.
I think it has enough options where getting them in position just ends up in a win between Iron Valiant and mostly Manaphy.
Mm-hmm.
That some games can just be rendered completely over at the drop of a hat.
That's fair.
But I don't like just how little time the team gives itself to get those positions.
Yeah.
When you've got those sorts of one-shot guys in Valiant and Manaphy, you need to make those shots count and you need to time them well. The Florida Feraligators do not have the resources or ability to give themselves the time to set up a sweeper because chipping things down doesn't work with their team structure. They need to take knockouts, and that's not what their end goal is looking for.
Right.
I put this at the top of Walt, personally.
Okay. I could see it. I definitely see it. I think that's probably a fine position.
Yeah. There are definitely going to be enough Mons that just get in, run the table. This team will win a number of games off of Coco Valiant stuff alone.
Yeah.
But I don't think it will be able to go all the way.
I think that's probably fair, yeah. Alright, moving on. 63!
The second Evan.
Yes.
We have found the other Evan.
Okay.
So let's address Pokemon number 1. Mega Eevee. I'm interested to see if this individual knows how to make Mega Eevee work, because it is 8 different things wrapped up into one unit. That speed gap between 143 and 106, not actually a speed gap. There's a 130 and a 110 in there. But that 130 is a Jolteon. Why are Jolteon and Zeraora on the same team?
It is
This team
awkward.
does not need a Zeraora. This team does not need a Zeraora.
Yeah, it really doesn't. It's just kind of there.
If you needed a physical mon to beat up water types, you have a Snorlax for that.
Yes. Or you have Leaf Blade Mega Eevee.
Accurate.
But yeah, I mean, there's still some good aspects to this team. I mean, there's a Palafin on it.
Oh, absolutely.
Like that's a
Palafin is
pretty good
nuts.
Pokemon.
Delta Snorlax is. I don't think people talk about Delta Snorlax enough. That mon is crazy.
Yeah, like Thick
It just
Fat
does
on it
everything. It eats
is
all of
super
the
good.
damage, and it just kills you.
Yeah, like and adaptability. Woodhammer just hits like an absolute truck. Like Bandit Delta Snorlax is gonna just 2-hit KO your Grass Resist like very easily. Like it's not even
Unless it's a
close.
quad.
Yeah. So like yeah, also very solid mod. So I made the comment here that the round 3 Dio defense actually surprisingly worked out. Partly from the perspective of round 3 Dio defense is obviously a very early Dio defense. But also the fact that they were able to still get all the stuff even
Yeah.
doing that. I mean again,
This team looks like it drafted DoD in round 7.
yeah, it's like if you switch the Zera Aura and the DoD, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. But it didn't. It got it. It does in that order, and it still kind of worked out.
Zeraora lasted to round 7 in Abyssal, the division where Zeraora's talents of being a very fast thing that clicks a button would probably be most appreciated.
Yeah,
Wild.
wild indeed. Because I got it in round 4 of perfection. I think that's right.
Yeah, and even then, I think that's what.
That was late. Yeah, that was still late.
Yeah, this is a buttons meta. And you need a panic option. And
Yeah.
Zeraora is a fantastic counter offense panic option. And this team got it round 7. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
Yep.
So okay, let's talk about some of the other aspects here. So okay, so physical offense obviously is crazy. You got Palafin, Delta Snorlax, Zera.
You got Zera.
Yeah, like
Iron Treads to a lesser extent, but that mon
can
is
be.
just
Yeah,
kind of mid.
Treads is more like kind of a utility mon, I would argue, than offense. But like,
Treads is kind of the worst of the ground steals.
it kind of it feels like a slightly different niche than the other ground steals. But like, yeah, I can see what
I
you mean.
suppose you're right.
Because like the speed on it is actually kind of nice in some teams.
Yeah, the speed is the primary draw.
Yeah.
This team doesn't particularly need it between Palafin, Espeon, and Jolteon, but nice little stopgap there.
Yeah.
Serves as a reasonable enough assistant to Deoxys defense. I'll admit the ghost resisting is not the greatest on
Yeah,
this
so here
team.
we can go to the type chart here. Yeah, so you can see here there's one ghost resist and then one ghost immune.
The ghost immune is base form Mega Eevee, which does not
Which
count.
doesn't count.
And
then
the
the
resist is Delta Pidgeot, which I think doesn't count.
Yeah, that mon is that's a little sus.
Yeah, this is a 7-mon team. This is absolutely a 7-mon team.
Terra Prim, I think, actually can do some stuff. The Pidgeot though.
Yeah, Terra Primarina feels very good.
Yeah. It feels good and not at the same time. Because, like, Primarina actually really likes its dual typing a lot of the time from, like, a resist perspective. There are times that escaping that can be good, but then there's other times where it can actually be kind of awkward. So, like, I'll be interested to see how it does. I think it has potential.
I think the reason Primarina is a Terra Captain is because nothing more relevant on this team can be a Terra Captain.
Can Dio Defense not be a Terra Captain?
Nope.
Okay, then yeah, there is nothing else in this team that is relevant to be a Terra Captain. This is fair. But yeah, I mean, You got strong priority because you have Palafin. That's always good.
Yeah.
Like,
Team feels bland. Team feels solid. It has 7 Pokemon on it and 3 guys.
yeah. Swallow and Mr. Vest are indeed just guys. They are.
I'm not going to say I like it, but I'm not going to say it sucks.
I think it has potential.
This team got some darn good potential.
Shall we tier it?
Yeah, let's rock and roll.
All right. So,
This is an easy could.
I gotta say, I think it's definitely could. The question is, where do we put it in could?
I think it's above whatever the one with the Mega Delta Gallade is.
That's Bijit.
Yeah, it's definitely above that.
Okay.
Because
But,
it doesn't have a glaring flaw.
No.
It's just, yeah, okay. It's relatively mundane and non-versatile. You can tell exactly what it's coming at you with, but it's coming at you with good stuff.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on.
One thing I can definitely foresee is just a grass type sitting on that team.
I could see
Because
it.
the only way that beats a grass is Mega EV has to Ice Beam or Fire Blast it.
Yep.
Which not many grasses can take on both of those. So
True.
I believe it.
That is actually a worthwhile point in that you have a Palafin, but you don't have a clear Mon that kills grasses.
Although, I will admit, the Pokemon best equipped for handling this team is on this team.
Yeah? Being the Delta Snorlax, I assume.
Being the Snorlax. Absolutely, the Snorlax. If Delta Snorlax got matched into this team, it would completely steamroll it.
Actually, yes. Delta Snorlax solos this entire team.
Yeah.
Including the Swallow. It does not care.
Yeah, including the Swallow.
Alright, let's move on.
Next game.
We have Patstar and the very cursed team name.
Yeah. This team feels very good and very awful. So I'll start with the very good bit. It's 9 good Pokemon.
True.
Like, no actual complaints here. Everyone feels like they belong here. Everyone feels like they have a place. It's just 9 good Pokemon stuffed in a barrel. Or a tortilla if you want to be a burrito fan. The speed is
I have personal
good.
gripes with Crown, but I'll leave that aside.
You have personal gripes with Crown because you've lost to accuracy too many times.
I have personal gripes with Crown because I benched it so many times because it was terrible. But
Fair enough. It's also a fairly mid steal for a team like this.
Yeah. But you can continue with what you were saying.
Yeah, you've just got really a bunch of good Pokemon. My brain says, oh, all of your offense is built around having a setup move. But we go back to Delta Snorlax. I look at this Rillaboom. I'm like, oh, okay, you can just throw a Choice Band on the Rillaboom and click Wood Hammer and make everyone die. Also, Mega Delta Gallade's coverage is pretty self-explanatory. So the whole immediacy not found thing, probably not the most relevant answer. The bulk line is serviceable. I like Delta Tangrowth, Florges, Blastoise.
Yeah, that's
and
fine.
You can do a couple things with Lilligant if you're into it, like spicy. Into it turbo tags.
Eevee Lilligant is a valid set. I have used it multiple times.
Yeah. Got decent enough hazards, got decent enough removal, got decent enough attacking on both sides. Yeah. This is just solid Pokemon.
Yeah. I don't have any super major criticisms in that regard either. I think you pretty well summed it up. Let's just take a quick look.
I'm not wowed by this team. I'm not let down by this team.
It is a team.
It's just 9 good Pokemon. I'd say it's probably in the upper echelon of teams we've seen so far.
Yeah,
just because so many other teams waste their time, their slots, and their budget with things that they aren't going to use.
but I could see all 9 of these mons coming.
Yeah, this is a, a legitimate 9-mon team. This is
Yeah,
a full ass 9-mon team, and not a lot of people manage that. So absolute props to you. I know I didn't this season. I built an 8-mon team,
yeah. Like Terra Lilligant Water, I think actually has a lot of potential too. Like that's a
especially with
mon.
multiple immunity abilities.
Yeah, that multiple
You can do a
immunity
lot of
ability
stuff
is
there.
really nice. Like Terra makes Flash Fire actually relevant on Lilligant because like normally it's like why on earth would you ever run fire immunity when you're already quad resist fire? But like now you can like Terra Steel and be immune to fire. Like that's
Yeah.
pretty nice on like an Assault Fest set.
Also, it means Tail Glow becomes relevant.
True. That's actually the biggest thing is it makes Tail Glow sets a lot more consistent because you can flip the
I
script.
can think of exactly one reason why non-Terra Delta Lilligan would want to run Flashfire, and it's against Delta Artillery specifically, but continue.
Yes. But yeah, like being able to also flip the script on mons you can set up on with Tail Glow is also really big. So like I think that mon actually has a lot of potential Terra. Fortress also is a pretty solid Terra cap. Spoilers for Perfection PRs. I was sniped of the Fortress I was originally going to Terra, so I definitely was on my radar. And being able to Terra Grass it and make it immune to Toxic, for example, is like really cool. And then also like offensive
Oh, that
sets.
is really cool.
And then like offensive sets, you Terra Ground and like Fairy Ground, as we've established with Mega Delta Metacham, is basically perfect neutral coverage. So you just kind of click buttons.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we've pretty well summed everything up. I don't think there was anything particularly noteworthy in the type matchup that we had noted. Yeah, this seems fine. All right, let's hear it. Also,
What are you thinking of this?
very, very cursed image that I had to find because Patstar did not give us a
So
logo.
cursed. I hate this. Well, we
Yes.
need to do this quickly so I can get it off of my screen.
Yes. Honestly, I think that this potentially could be lower echelons of shoe-in for playoffs. I think this team actually might be
I
solid
like
enough
this
for
as
that.
our first shoe-in.
Yeah,
This
I think
is
that's
just so uninterestingly solid.
yeah, like it's not like crazy good, but it's solid enough that I think that it definitely has the potential. So
It's a good kind of boring.
yeah, there's something to be said sometimes about being boring. Because sometimes boring
Yep.
is effective. And if that's your goal, then by all means.
The good stuff is good for a reason, and because it's good, it got old, and that's why it's boring.
Yeah.
But hey, it's good and it's boring, so do what you want.
Yeah. Alright, let's move on.
Yeah.
We are approaching an hour, and I think we're only halfway done.
I don't even think we're halfway done. There are 18 teams.
2, 4, 6. Oh god, we're not even halfway done.
Yep.
Alright, let's see if we can speed this up.
Skyhops, tip of the ice cube. This is a weird kind of stall team, except there's no core at the end for some stupid ass reason. However, we've kind of established that ice resistances can be a problem in this division.
Yes,
I
we have
believe.
noted multiple times that there are teams that have 4 ice weaknesses.
And there are still more on the way.
This Delta Scyther, if played well, is going to absolutely destroy a lot of the teams in this div.
Yeah. I also think it is very funny that of these top 6, 5 of them are defensive guys.
Yeah.
And then you have Mega Zorark.
Uh-huh.
So Mororark basically has to disguise either as a Scyther, Driftblim, or a Stallmon.
Yeah, that is an interesting point I hadn't thought of previously.
I think it's very funny that Zorark can disguise as Mew, and then in the blind, people have to be like, okay, so there are like 3 billion options that this Mew set could be. This could be Suicide lead. This could be setup. This could be wall. This could be hazards. This could be taunting me. This could be not Mew. And adding not Mew to your list of options of what Mew is very funny.
That is extremely funny. I will admit that.
But there's a fair amount that just kind of gives the Zoroark away. When you have so many defensive guys, Zoroark is going to appear at full when the thing it's disguised at is not at full,
Yeah.
which gives away the thing. You can't disguise as a Alolan Ninetales for obvious reasons.
Right.
And it's just, eh. This is a very weird Zoroark team.
Yeah.
The defense is cracked, though. This defensive core is awesome.
The
I love
defensive
this
core
to
is really
bits.
good. Though, it is worth noting, specifically with Avalugg, there is the awkward aspect of you don't want to always bring Sandstream on it, because you have a Snow Core with Ninetales.
No, Solid Rock's the better ability on that guy anyway.
It depends on the matchup.
It
If you're running
can.
Spadef Avalugg, you want Sandstream. It's better than Solid Rock on Spadef sets.
Fair, but on a Delta Aurorus, Delta Muck Mew team, why are you running Spadef Avalugg?
This is fair. So maybe that's actually workable. It might not be as big of an issue as it would first appear on paper. So yeah, I mean,
This team is weird as hell.
Whenever
This
you
team
have a
is so
Mew team,
weird.
it's hard to say, like, oh, it's like, oh, let's summarize the roles. It's like, well, there's a Mew on it. The Mew is, in theory, any of them.
What I have learned as my evaluation of Mew is remove the Mew from the team.
Pretty much. Because the Mew can be any of them, so, like
Yeah.
basically the metric I've learned when building Mew teams is you draft a Mew, and then you throw it out the window when you're preparing the rest of the draft. And then you just have a good team that also has a Mew on it.
And you use the Mew to cover up, or at least try to cover up any particular hole you may need, although it can't cover all of them. Yeah, it's an absolute Gloomon. This team doesn't really need a Gloomon.
No, it really doesn't. Like, yeah, like, I mean, the one thing that is kind of lacking is without the Mew, you're relying almost entirely on the Zoroark as, like, your special breaker type offense. Like, because Ninetales hits like a wet noodle. And Drifblim isn't particularly strong. So, that could be slightly awkward if you run into, like... If you run into good physical walls that Scyther can't exploit.
I think Mew is this team's Psychic Resist.
Yes, it is.
Here, yeah, let's there's no steel here.
Yeah. So yeah, there is... Oh, nope, you forgot the Mega Zoroark.
I did not. I treated that Pokemon with all of the defensive integrity it deserves.
This is very fair. Oh, actually, something that is worth noting. That Zoroark is also the only Ghost Resist.
Oh yeah, that's kind of bad.
That could be problematic. And then also the Flying Resist is... Okay, well, it's the Avalugg. That's not...
The Flying Resist is the Avalugg. It could be worse.
Yeah.
Although that mon has 44 special defense, so meh.
Yeah. Oh, what? Oh, actually, that's this. The lack of the steel. The bigger issue here might be dragons. The only dragon resist is the Ninetales.
Oh, yeah, that's no good.
So that actually could be a fairly major problem. Because you don't really want to switch Ninetales in on dragons.
Yeah, this team does not want to take a Bandit Outrage.
It doesn't want to take a Bandit Outrage. It doesn't want to take Specs Dracos. So dragons are actually kind of a huge issue. Like, obviously you have Scyther that's very good at revenging them, but switching into them is going to be really hard.
Oh, absolutely. shall we tier this team?
Sure. Also, I like this logo, by the way. It's very cute.
Oh, that's a very nice logo.
Yes, I do like this logo. Okay, so with that in
I
mind,
want to like this team, but I can't in good conscience, especially after the whole dragon bit.
yeah. Are we
Like,
putting it in
dragons
won't
aren't the
then?
most common thing in the world, but it's just a lot of weird options.
Yeah. Are we putting it in won't?
I kind of think it's in won't.
Are we putting it towards the top of won't or towards the bottom of won't?
I think it's right in the middle. I
Okay,
like this more than the team with 5 waters on it,
this is
but
fair.
less
I also like
than
this
the
more than
Coco Valiant roster.
yeah. Okay, yeah. It is definitely worse than Coco Valiant roster. I think that's probably fair.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. We have Nikissa, and now this is a team with buttons.
With buttons.
Let's talk about all the buttons. So you have the hazard buttons because there's a spider gross. You've got the Delta Haxorus buttons. You've got both the SD buttons and the Banded buttons. You got Chi-Yu, which is always, of course, a very classic button. You've got Mega
Yeah.
Flygon that clicks the Boom Burst button. And then you also have Terra Rampardos, which clicks the funny head smash button, which we here are a
Yeah.
big fan of.
Also, Delta Gallade clicks 3 distinct buttons, but they are very nice buttons.
This is true. And of course, there's also the goated defensive buttons, because there's a Goddle on our screen.
I do love me some Goddle, especially when it has a ground type buddy to cover the grasses.
Yes.
Yeah, and kind of too if you squint at Flygon and
Yes.
dead name it.
Indeed. Okay, so
Yeah,
I mean, we
I
established
will let my
offensively.
message speak for itself. But anyway, offenses. We have guys.
Yes, lots of good offense here. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the defensive utility here. So there's Goddle, there's a Delta Venu, and there's a Terapagos. Well, and then there's Spider Gross. But like, I mean, Spider Gross is always like, it's obviously solid as a defensive bomb, but like,
That is a tank. That is not a wall.
that's the thing, is that it takes hits and then like either pivots out into something else or like sets up hazards or whatever, but using it as like a quote unquote defensive mon oftentimes is kind of awkward. So like
You can definitely spam protect though.
it's
So
workable,
I
yeah. If you
believe
if you
that.
bring protect, it's workable. But it can be awkward. So this team's removal I think is Terapagos and Flygon? I don't think does Tropius get defog?
Um, I'm gonna check.
I think it might actually.
It does.
Okay.
But Tropius also sucks.
Yeah, so your removal is Terapagos, is basically the long story short of this team. Which maybe is fine if the plan is just to hazard stack your opponent and then force them to deal with it. But also there's no poison on this team, so T-spikes start to become a bit problematic, though I guess counterpoint to that, this team is so offensive that maybe it doesn't care? If you're just killing stuff before the T-spikes can actually chip you down, then it doesn't actually matter?
Yeah.
Let's see, what else? So, the speed is slightly awkward in this team. Because, like, you've got Mega Flygon as your speed cap at 120, but again, that being a Mega, it means that your fastest Scarfer is Chi-Yu. So, like, fast Scarfers, especially fast flyings that can't be affected by webs, could potentially be a really big problem for this team to deal with. You have like some decent decent priority options though. Like you got Haxorus, Aquajet is like obviously Aquajet and Bullet Punch actually, and then like Gallade Ice Shard. So like it's workable from that perspective.
It's not the worst.
Let's take a look at the type chart here.
Also, Flygon's first impression is a relevant option.
True, it is Mega Flygon. It is stab, so that is relevant actually. Yeah.
I will be the Delta Grottle addict I am and remind everyone that mon learns Aquajet too.
Oh, nice. That could come up.
At least I think it does. If I'm wrong, I'm gonna look like a fool on the internet.
I'm not sure if.
Good thing I'm right.
I was gonna say I think Torterra has it at least. So.
Yeah, Grottle's got it.
Okay. So yeah, looking at type charts here. Okay, so we got 4 rock weeks, 4 ground weeks, 5 fighting weeks. Well, the fighting doesn't seem to be a huge issue because we got 4 resists here. One of which is a quad resist in Venu. Ground, Spider Gross, Flygon, and Tropius? Okay, and Spider Gross, I guess, gonna have to carry in that front. And then Rock, it's Haxorus and Gottle are the Rock resists. So, Gottle is very, very much needed here. It's going to, like, probably have to come a decent number of matchups if they have at all a decent rock mod.
Or at all a decent water mon.
Yeah, because like the water resist on this team also it's like Haxorus, Flygon, Tropius.
I don't trust that ever.
Yeah, so like again, probably need the Gottle. For the Gottle, I think is probably coming a lot. I feel like a lot of the time this team is going to be Gottle, Spider Gross, 4 other guys. Some combination of the other guys. But yeah, I think that pretty well summarizes everything. Anything else you want to add?
No, I think you really hit the big time. You actually know what Terapagos does, so I'll cede most of this to you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, big things it does. It's like spin / rock sets, and then like Calm Mind, or like basically it's 2 main sets. So like this team that already has a bajillion offense mods, like probably not gonna want to be running Calm Mind on it particularly often. But I could definitely see the more utility-based sets potentially coming actually a lot, because again, it's the only removal. Alright, let's tier it. Alright, where are we putting it?
This feels kind of low could high won't-ish? I don't know. Wait, this team's actually just good Pokemon, though.
It is. I can see it being like towards the bottom.
What doesn't lose to this?
I feel like this
is the main problem.
Like the offense of this team is very hard to reliably check. So like if it's positioned well, it definitely has the potential to just rip things to shreds.
Absolutely.
And like positioning though could be difficult with this team because your pivoting options, it's basically just Flygon and Spider Gross as like kind of your main options that have momentum moves. So like it could be a little difficult to get the positioning right, but At the same time, it might
Yeah,
not particularly matter if the buttons you're clicking are strong enough.
if you click good enough buttons, nobody cares how you got there.
Indeed. I think it's definitely probably in the could tier.
Yeah, I like lowish could.
Maybe like above Vegeta, but below 63 Evan.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, I'm good with that.
And I
Alright.
think we are officially halfway there now.
I think we're actually. Oh yeah. Oh geez. Yeah, we are officially half. Okay.
Oh god. Oh no.
All right. We'll try to move speed up a little bit for these last few.
Yeah. Okay.
Storm Tide.
Yeah. Why does everything have so much attacking number on this team?
It is funny.
It is very funny how many numbers. You are correct about Moonblast going Burr. Firelix has to carry the fairy matchup,
Yeah.
which I
So
do
for
not like at
reference,
all. Unless, wait, I think the fairy matchup actually gets carried by Terra Steel Delmise. Because if you
yeah.
give that thing Steel Stab on top of Steel Worker,
Honestly, I could. Yeah.
that sounds incredibly funny.
Oh no, Terra Delmise is actually, well, like legitimately saw a Terramon. Like I could see that potentially doing some very funny things. Okay, so let's talk about just kind of broader scale and some other stuff here. Speed tiers are mostly fine. I mean, you got Bundle at 136 and then the Screamtail at 111. Like it covers most of the bases there, and then everything else seems fine. Solid special offense, of course. You got Bundle Hoopa, physical offense, got Garchomp Iron Hands. Bulk Core is decent. I mean, having a Wish Passer for Mega Steelix is always nice. The fact that a Steelix Fire is unfortunate from the perspective of that Mon is kind of sus. Uh, but
Also, this team doesn't particularly abuse the calls very well.
not really. So it's like normally like with Stealth Coal, you want a Mon that forces in steals, and then the steals take a
Yeah.
bunch of chip. But
And
like,
I'm also looking for knockoff guys
yeah,
that want
it's
steals to come in on them too.
it's I think well, steals aren't coming in on Iron Hands, and I think that's oh no, Swampert. Swampert gets knockoff now.
Oh.
So like, well, but again, steals aren't coming in on Swampert either. But also, this team doesn't really struggle to break steals. You have a Garchomp and an Iron Hands. Like, what do you care about steals? And you don't care about grasses either, because you got Bundle Hoopa. So like, yeah, the Stealth Coal does feel a bit misplaced here. Like, I don't honestly know what they're going for with that. But like, I mean, yeah, the defensive core is fairly fine. In Screamtail, there's Spadefmon is fine-ish. And
Yeah.
Swampert's decent mixed bulk. Like, I don't see any like huge glaring weaknesses with this team, other than, again, the thing we talked about with the fairy resist. But if you Terra Dalmice, maybe that isn't as much of a huge issue. Anything else you want to add?
Uh, nah. I think we've really got all of our bases.
All right, well, let's hear it.
This is this is a team built around a concept that it does not really need or want.
Are we putting this in won't then?
I kind of think this is in well. This is below Coco Valiant easily.
That's fair. Uh, what about relative to Skyhops?
I think we can go below Skyhouse.
Okay,
It's not
so
the most amazing thing in the world, and its premise kind of doesn't make any sense.
Do we want it below Pikachu then? Or do we think above Pikachu?
I think above Pikachu.
Okay, so we'll keep it there.
It does not have 5 water types, therefore it is above Pikachu.
I guess that is the bar. Yeah, that's fair. Alright. Moving on. To Missouri.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, this one.
Yes. This is the Runegross Webs team. The Webs mod is Rabombi, which, like, as stated, is not exactly the best Webs mod. It's not the worst. I would not say it's the. I mean,
Yeah,
you really
but
think
it's a
Rabombi is worse than
suicide lead
Baskerite?
Weber.
Like, of the canonical Webs mons, it's the worst. But like, which I guess is kind of what you're going for. But,
Of the relevant Websmons, it's the worst. I would unironically rather have a Dottler on my team.
I mean, Dollars would kind of goat it.
Yeah, Dottler is kind of. That's why I'd rather have Dottler. I'd
Yeah.
rather have a Pokemon that can set up webs more than one time in a game.
This is fair. That is the main problem with Rabombi, is it's so frail.
Yeah. Okay, I
Alright,
guess with Goldango around, there's reason to believe that you can keep the webs up.
yeah, that is.
But even then, heavy booty doots.
Yeah. It's like, whenever you have a Goldango team, basically, the main thing you, unintentionally or not, you end up doing is you just force your opponent to run boots everything.
Yeah.
Which can be good or bad. Like, if your goal is to spam webs in order to make Runegros faster than everything, it's kind of bad. Because they just are naturally faster with it than the mons that are naturally faster than it. Like, the other speed cap, the other, like, fast mon on the team being Starmie, it's like, Starmie's like a fine mon and all, but I don't really see a clear mon here that, like, I guess, oh wait, no. Okay, I actually do see one mon that kind of justifies forcing the boot spam, and it's actually Terra Xurkitree. Because I think it's actually already come up in the title match we were mentioning earlier between Missouri and Howe. That Terra Scarf Xurkitree is kind of, if it weakens the ground, kind of can just click button. It can just win if it just is faster than everything.
Fair enough.
So that is an angle. It is an angle that this team can go for.
That is an angle.
Also,
And
I
it's a
wrote
pretty
neutral evil didn't
terrifying
go on the
premise.
slide here because there's no T-Spiker. So it's only neutral evil instead of true evil.
Yeah. This is a very nice premise, but the support for Goldango feels not good at all. The biggest friend I can see for Goldango is Incineroar
Yeah.
in terms of stuff that switches in on my problems, but even then, ground, which I guess is what Skarmory is for. I despise that this team's water is a Starmie.
Yeah, the Starmie feels awkward.
Which we'll get into that whole bit later. Because it means your fire resistances are the Incineroar that you don't want to keep as a fire type. And the Starmie that you're not going to run fat. Because only I run fat sets on these sorts of mons in current year.
But yeah, there's... I mean, yeah, Terra Xurkitree Runegros is, like, decently scary offense. But yeah, I think that, yeah, what you're saying with that the defensive core is awkward, I think is definitely rings true here.
Might not be the biggest deal, because you have the best immediate breaker in the format on this roster.
True. Runegros is a hell of a drug.
It's absolutely a hell of a drug, but it could use little more fine tuning. Fantastic stuff, though. I would not want to fight this with offense. I would not want to fight this with defense. Because webs is really just the way I'm looking at this team is webs is the plan for all of the offense. And
Uh-huh.
most of the team can abuse webs to a fairly great degree.
Yeah,
Every team that doesn't care about sticky web loses to ruin gross.
yeah. Because you
Every
just
team.
band it, and then you just click button, and you
Yeah.
2-hit
You throw
KO
a choice
anything that
band on
switches in.
it and you 2-hit KO max HP Magirna. Like what do they do? The answer is they Terra a physically defensive Pokemon into steel and read you,
Pretty much.
which is the problem with Ruin Gross and a Terra meta. Anyway, let's tier this bastard.
Yes. Oh yeah, I guess we could. We are. I mean, you already touched on this point. The issue with the fire.
Yeah, remember that your water is a Starmie.
Yeah. Okay. So tiering it.
If fire sucked in this meta, I would put this team as shoe-in for playoffs. Unfortunately, fires don't suck in this meta. And any team that has a way to not get webs set on it, or even worse, to get the webs off while killing Rabambi. I can see this team leads with Sash Rabambi. The opponent leads something that knocks Rabambi down to Sash and then spins Rabambi for knockout. The game's just basically over.
Yeah. So
I like this at the top of could.
I think that's reasonable. I think it's definitely it's up there and could for sure.
Yeah. It's not a shoo-in by any means because I look at the team and see how I'm beating it.
Yeah.
I see the angle immediately, and because of that, I can't give it a shoo-in for playoffs. But it's a very navigatable
Navigable
option.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Alrighty.
Moving on.
Keep it going.
All right. We got Arrow.
Intern gang. I see a fair thorn. I remind Abyssal Division that Corrode exists.
It does indeed.
Ferrothorn loses to most of the poisons in the format. I really have no idea what else to say about this team. Fire, water, grass, core from hell.
Firewater Grass Hazard Core from hell. Because you have
Hazard core, yeah.
Because you have Stealth Coal, Spikes, Rocks, and T-Spikes in a Firewater Grass Core.
That would do it. Plus, if people start pivoting around, you just chuck Annihilate in.
Yeah.
Have it U-turn and then have it leave.
Or
when you have
also,
the defensive backbone to facilitate that. Because you got the Firewater Grass plus Zapdos. I'm like,
Zapdos
ooh,
also covers basically all the issues with the core.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah. My big gripe is switching into Ghost is not fun.
Oh yeah, they're. I think I noted it here.
Because you have 3 Ghost weaknesses and the
their
resist
ghost
kind of
resists
suck.
are Megadeth Lucario and Crawdont.
So no. Meaning the Ghost resist is now Toxapex and Delta Registeel.
Correct. So like,
but even just those 3 hazard guys alone, those are tough as nails to get through. And
yeah,
you try to spin this team or defog on it, that's an Annihilate switch, and that's a Defiant boost. You're fucked. I think.
yeah. Also,
Wait, this team
Lucario
feels
can
built
also
around
switch
it.
in.
Yeah, Lucario has Defiant as well.
Yeah. So this team, the concept of this team of hazard stacking plus punishing, attempting to remove them is solid for sure.
Especially with all of the threats that just want one free little inroad. You don't have great pivoting into Crawdont. But if you get Crawdont in on a defog attempt, now you're ready to rumble.
Yeah. Because like if you get off a sword stance with Crawdont and then just like Terra Water and just spam Jet, like that's a legitimately strong cleaner.
Yeah. Or you just throw it in on a defog. You pop a defensive Terra, and now you're clicking Banded Crabhammer into their team. I like this. I like this a lot.
I think this has a lot of potential, yeah.
Especially when the big mega on the team is a knockoff spammer.
Yeah. And you also have,
Crawdaunt
again,
to
the
spam
Firewater
knockoff too.
Grass Hazard Core from Hell. Oh, also learn knockoff.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, you have a ton of knockoff on this team, plus the hazards, plus ways to punish removal. So, like, that's basically the game plan is a cycle between that, go through that cycle and then clean with Daunt or Luke or Annihilate. Or...
I guess the big problems of this team are your defensive fairy and ground are both fake.
Yeah.
But why do you need either of those?
Right. It's like, yeah, you do kind of just get to volt switch around on this team, but at the same time, if they're just making guaranteed progress by spamming hazards anyway, I don't think they care.
Yeah, also, if you're not using particularly strong volt switches, they can throw Annihilate in
Yeah.
at one random point.
Throwing Annihilate, throwing Ferrothorn.
Because.
Like, yeah. It's definitely very manageable. Alright, let's go ahead and tier this one, though.
I want to shoe in this team.
I think this one is probably good enough to be a shoe-in.
It's either that or it's going to hell.
Oh, Honestly, I could see it.
I also think this is better than the Skibbity Toilet team. I'm excited by this team. I was not excited by Skibbity Toilet at all.
This team is genuinely interesting.
Yeah. This team makes me want to watch its games.
I think, unfortunately, he got a forfeit loss today for using Hidden Power. But going forward, I'm interested to watch the game.
Yeah, I'm gonna scroll through the game quickly if you're ready to continue.
Yeah. I'll give you a second to take a quick look. I think that's what happened. Alright, here I can just talk about the team for a while.
You're free to keep going. I might be a bit here.
Okay. Okay, so we got Johan next. So this team is basically just Spikes plus Delta Arcanine and Mega Delta Metacham. Is basically this team's MO. So, like, you've got triple Spike Mons in Ogerpon, Hammerot, and then Sandy Shocks. And then I feel like from there it's just kind of trying to pivot around and then clean with one of those top two Mons. So, like, speed tiers are decently solid. I mean, you got Crobat, Ogerpon in your top end, so, like, those are fine. Delta Arcanine, of course, is always a very scary cleaner. Like, that thing gets off a Swords Dance, and then it can just E-speed things to death if they get chipped down a lot. So that's where having Hammerot as a partner for it is kind of nice. Mega Delta Medi, of course, also we mentioned earlier that how Ground Fairy is almost impossible to switch into as a stab combination. And yeah, that is that stab combination as a Pokemon that has double its normal special attack. So it kind of just clicks stabs and doesn't really care.
Yeah.
So like, oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I just watched Arrow's game. Very impressive showing. Incredibly fun match to spectate, even fast forward and spamming the skip turn button. Super unfortunate that HBS got brought.
That is unfortunate indeed. Was it on the Alakazam?
It was on the Alakazam.
That would make sense. Okay. That's alright. They know going forward. So we will be
Indeed.
We will be keeping tuned. We are interested in how you do Arrow. We will be watching. Alright, anyway. Back to Johan.
Yes. We have Extreme Killer and PNC.
Yes.
Also, pairing the perfect neutral coverage Pokemon with one of the few things that resists both Mega Delta Metacham stabs in Crobat.
That is funny. That is indeed very funny. Here we can, let's see. So talking about like defense, right? So defensively, there's some issues with this team. One of them, the S note here is this team is somehow weak to grass.
How do you draft 5 grass weaknesses? I would have expected 5 grass weaknesses from the team with 5 waters, but no, you managed it instead.
Yeah. So like, yeah, it's Metacham, Hammerot, Jellicent, Sandy Shocks, and Axu.
The completely relevant XU.
That's right. Very relevant. I mean, granted, Crobat and Heatran are both extremely good grass resists.
Yeah, the other problem is it's also got at least 4 weaknesses to ice and electric.
Right.
Which
yeah,
also how?
That is the bigger issue for sure. Cause yeah, like one of your grounds is Metacham, which you don't want to be switching in on random moves. And the other one is Sandy Shocks, which also isn't notably particularly bulky. And then for the, I guess you also have, well, again, Ogre Palm, which you don't really want to be switching in on moves. And let's see what's the other. Oh, the other resistance is Darkanine, which you also really don't want to be switching in on moves.
This team's got pretty mediocre removal options to facilitate its multi-scale sweeper.
Yeah, because like
not particularly amazing of a characteristic.
Because like the game plan of this team is spike stacking, so you'd want like a good spinner normally, but the spinner is Hitmonchan, which is not great. Like Crobat's fine as a defogger. It's not fantastic, but it's workable. But like combined with Hitmonchan, it's just kind of eh. And then yes, this is another team that is ridiculously weak to ice. The only thing saving them from the Scyther matchup is that they have a Jellicent.
But even then, knockoff.
Yeah, but like if it's Colbert Jellicent, it'll tank it.
Fair enough. That would make a fair bit of sense.
Yeah. This is the kind of matchup where I would probably, I mean, I would still bring Scyther probably, but it would be the kind of matchup where I wouldn't run like setup sweeper Scyther. I would run like Banded or Scarf maybe.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think we've pretty well summarized like the general gist here. Anything else you want to add?
Nah, I think we're all good.
All right, let's hear it. I think this is maybe like a low end of could.
I'd believe low end of could.
Okay. You want to do like very bottom or like?
I'm cool with very bottom.
Okay, we'll put it there.
It's a little piece of work.
Yeah.
And I just see too many problems.
Yeah. I think that's reasonable. All right, moving on. We still got 5 to go.
Moving on.
All right. We have the Sand Team.
Indeed. We have the Sand Team. I haven't seen Insurgent Sand in quite a fair bit.
It is definitely not.
But if any division had to do it, it would be Abyssal.
Yep. Because it has it has 2 of Abyssal's favorite mons on it. It has Dracovish and Cakestol.
Yeah. Also, this was in the game this player played. It was mixed Cakestol.
Interesting.
It showed knockoff and dazzling gleam as attacking moves.
Ha. Huh. Intriguing.
Much so. Easily the worst of Insurgence's 5 weathers, but I respect the effort. especially when the Excadrill was no longer there. Actually, this team had the opportunity to draft Excadrill in round 2 before the team that actually took it. So, homie
Okay,
took.
there is a slight, or actually not slight. There is a major note that should be here. This team basically didn't exist in this form at all pre-Grace. They basically blew up their team to make this.
Of course they did.
I think it was something along the. I didn't actually check the actual count because they just like posted a screenshot of the new team. I forgot to record their previous team. I think it was along the line of like 6 or 7 Mons that got traded out, at least, if not more.
Wild. That is a nuke.
Yeah, it was indeed a nuke. So like basically completely ignored the relative positionings of most of these Pokemon because that's not where they were.
Yeah, I suppose that's fair.
So really one of the big things for me is that this team doesn't really have like a round 1 Mon. Like the closest you come is Lando I, which is like solid obviously, but it's not like crazy. So you don't really have like a like big threat to base everything else around. It literally is just trying to go for a collective of sand, but it's
It's fairly all in.
it is a
Either
lot
it's
all
all
in.
in on webs, it's all in on Smash, or it's all in on sand.
It is all in on whatever they're bringing. I don't think there's really a way to play this team that has like backup plans if your main plan fails.
It
Because
can bring like Galvantula and a Sand Core pretty easily. I can see that, but I don't like the all in nature. It just has to put all its chips on the table, lay down
yeah,
its whole hand.
pretty much. But yeah, like I mean, basically the only special offense in Team being Lando I is kind of fine because like Lando I is a really good special offense, but I think this team unironically might be trying to run Sand Force Lando I.
And Force Lando Eye.
Which they don't need to because they could just run Sheer Force instead, but I don't know, maybe it'll show up.
I'd believe it.
I mean, that's the thing. I did once, but that's because it was Sheer Force banned Lando I, and it was 10 points.
Yeah.
So I did it for the comedy.
Did it for the content, I get it.
Yes. Anyway, so defensive backbone of this team, it doesn't really exist.
Yeah.
It's T-Tar, Rotom, Doublade, Uxie. And then Tentacruel also kind of trying to do a thing. Wartortle is not a Pokemon.
Yeah, I'm not including Wartortle.
Yeah.
I get you on that one.
And like, the thing with T-Tar on a team that's basically dedicated to sand is you can't really switch it in a ton on stuff because if it dies, then you're screwed.
Yeah, because the team is an all-in one.
Yeah, so like basically you kind of have to count it out for the defensive core. And then from there, the team just like it's just awkward. Like
This team is weird. I'm not a fan. This
yeah,
team drafted 4 fire weaknesses on a sand team, which
yeah,
is not
that is
what sand
interesting.
teams do.
Yeah, that is definitely interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I'm almost at a loss loss for words in this one. It's
We this monstrosity.
yeah. So maybe we should just tier it and then. All right.
Oh, pull up the list.
I think
boss.
I think you. I think possibly my internet might be cutting in and out. Could you say that again?
Let's tier this, boss.
Okay, yeah. You were saying to. Oh, were you saying to pull up this?
Yeah, pull up the tier list.
Okay. All right.
I thought my
So.
computer was just lagging, so I had to DC real fast.
Oh, okay. Are we putting this in might win a game? Or are
I
we putting
want to
this in
put
Div
this in
5?
might win a game. I don't think this team technically has already won a game. It was not a deserved win, but it has won a game.
I mean, I guess we kind of have to put it in might win a game then, don't we?
We have to put it in might win a game.
All right. By technicality, it is going in might win a game.
Wait, counterpoint. This team did not win a game. Their opponent just lost.
It's going in Div 5.
Div 5 already. We got to use the funny, folks.
All right. Moving on.
We got 4 more.
Yep. Okay, Tim.
It's definitely not 11 p.m. Can we put this? Wait, no. This is the actually cool name, not the skibbity toilet monstrosity.
Yes.
So the forklift certification program. Props for drafting the mascot. I've used Mega Delta Giraffe Rig once. It definitely ended. I don't remember whether it ended well or ended poorly. It just definitely ended.
Yes.
Anyway, this is a Delta Reg Ice team with 2 Intimidators, but no actual friend. No real FizzDef buddy.
Yeah, there's no
Unless it's
on here.
Hydrapple, and I'm weird. Okay, Hydrapple's got 106, 110.
It's workable. It's also got Regenerator, so.
This is accurate.
It could be worse.
And Hydro Pump and Nesty Plot for some reason?
It does get Nasty Plot, yeah.
Okay, I believe this is a pretty good friend for Regice.
It could work. For sure.
Yeah, I'll believe in that friendship. Why do so many people want to tear Hydrapple? Anyway.
Their Hydrapple's good.
We've got some physical dudes. We've got some special dudes. We've got a Terra Hitmontop that's kind of here. Why didn't you just Terra the Pincurchin?
Or, well, actually, the Juggos probably was too expensive to Terra along with Hydrapple.
Yeah, the Juggulus would absolutely be too expensive.
Yeah. So, like, I get that, I guess.
Yeah. Where is the team's fairy is fake? I know that for certain.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I'm cringe. Why did I say 2 Intimidators? This team has 3 Intimidators for their Delta Regice. That's actually really cool.
Mega Delta Giraffe also isn't him.
3.5 Intimidators because you have to count the base form.
Oh, yeah.
Those Intimidates trigger separately.
This is true. That is the thing.
Ooh.
But yeah, I mean, here we can take a look at the resist profile. I mean, there's no huge.
This is a Delta Regice team. The next thing I have to look at when evaluating a Delta Regice team is what is the team's game plan for an opponent that clicks Toxic?
Switching into Giraffe Rig? ?
I think I have found the answer to what this team's game plan is for an opponent clicking Toxic. The game plan is the square root of -1.
So I?
Does not exist by real standards.
Yeah.
It is not real. Its game plan is vibes.
True. And
anyway, we've got speed, we've got physical attacking, we've got a weird quirk drive situation down low.
I feel like
if you're really feeling like
somehow is going to do something. I don't know why.
I
but
believe it. It's
I feel like the
what
Jugulus
teams
is
has
randomly
special
going to do
attackers?
something.
As Iron Jugulus sometimes does.
Like, without Terra, it's not anywhere near as threatening as it would be with, but I just have the feeling that maybe it's me just trying to somehow justify why this Pincurchin is on this team. Because, like...
I mean, hey, they needed a way to bust up Mega Milotic. I'm gonna run this calc now.
A rising voltage Pincurchin versus Mega Milotic.
Yes.
I assume you're going to calc specs.
Yes.
I'm gonna very generously say it's gonna do 60.
Well, if it's standard FizzDef... Wait, I'm looking at the wrong Mega Milotic.
Oh,
I
you
was
were carrying
looking
the
at
ghost one?
Mega Delta Milotic.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the verdict is in. Specs Pincurchin one-hit KOs any Mega Milotic.
Really?
Yeah.
Incredible.
Well, we found the Pincurchin use.
There you go. It has the justification.
Yeah. It definitely doesn't matter that you're 2-hit KO'd by Moonblast.
Yes. Alright. I mean, we've pretty well covered everything for this. We ready to tier it?
Yeah. It's just a good Delta Regis team.
Yep.
I see no particular flaws. Shoe into me.
Okay. I think it's reasonable. We will put it next to the cursed logo. Well,
Put it next to the cursed, stinking,
I was gonna say,
skibbity
it's not even a
shithead.
logo because they didn't submit a logo, so.
It's cringe.
Yeah.
It's cringe in the chat.
Moving on. We have Faquatesta.
Yeah.
With the
Well, we
speed chasm.
Yeah. Welcome to the speed chasm.
Yeah, this is
In
not a
terms
speed
of-
gap. This is a speed chasm. It
In
is
terms of
6
Pokemon that like investing in their speed stat, we have 142 to 70.
to 80. Delta Goodra.
Delta Goodra does not like actively investing in its speed stat.
Okay, true. It's it's basically actually 72 points of speed instead of 62. If you look at it that way.
This,
So yeah,
this team is a nightmare.
That's already a big issue. Also worth noting, this team doesn't really have priority either. It's
It
got
has
like
Delta Bishop Punch, and Empoleon's Aqua Jet, and Mega Delta Mawile Sucker Punch.
okay, yeah, but Mega Delta Mawile Sucker hits like a wet noodle.
Fair enough. Mega
The other
Delta
things also hit
Mawile
like a wet
is
noodle.
a wet noodle. Fair. This is Dragapult, Delta Bisharp, 6 Fatties, and the second worst Insurgents Mega.
Pretty much, yeah.
Which is just why.
Yeah.
Like, I know I drafted basically the same thing, but my bad Pokemon are good.
So yeah, like, hey, yeah, there's already that very glaring issue with the speed tiers. Let's look at the resist profiles. Ah, yes. This is
Yes.
one of the
Delta
teams
Scyther eating good.
that
Also
is
doesn't
6
do
0
well
by
against
Delta
Fairy.
Scyther.
Yeah, at least with the Fairy problem, Glowking Empoleon is a very reasonable set of Fairy resists.
The ice resist is just Empoleon, which granted is a good ice resist, but gets close combated into the sun in the case of Scyther.
Yeah.
And then, actually, for fighting, they have like, actually, they have 5 fighting resists. Huh, that's great.
That would do it. That's one way of supporting Tinglu.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I guess so. They just have to, yeah. But like, yeah,
Yeah,
ice is
the
a big
team's
problem for
one
this team.
break. This team's one breaker is Sword Dance Descav.
Pretty much,
Because
yeah.
Dragapult is kind of out of place for it. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
fast thing. It's kind of a panic button. But
I
then
mean,
Bisharp is woefully out of place, and Mawile's not far behind.
there's like a Trick Room mode to this team. Cause you got like Glow King, Escav, Tinglu. It's like,
Yes, but does Tinglu do damage?
yes, actually, if you run offensive Tinglu, it does damage.
Fair enough.
Like, Earthquakes from Tinglu actually hurt. It's just, it's so good at hazard setting rolls that people kind of write off that you can run, like, Choice Band Tinglu and it actually just murders things. But anyway. Empoleon Weezing was, like, decent Terra Cap combo. Like, that's workable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, anything else you want to say here? I think we pretty well covered everything.
No, I think we've really covered it all. This team is either going to be oppressive or garbage. I'm not certain yet.
Are we putting it in might win a game, or are we putting it in won't make playoffs?
Can we make another tier just for this team? Call it what the fuck?
uh, we'll just put it in might win a game.
Let's put it in might win a game. This is not an actually low placement. This team is just so weird.
Yeah, like it is. It defies explanation.
Yeah, especially the explanation of Mix EP over here. Let's get to our last two teams.
Yeah. All right.
I don't want
So
to fall asleep at the wheel. Mad
yeah.
respect to this one for drafting both mascots and making them the Terra captains. That
True.
is,
I am
you
forced
get so
to
many
admit
style points.
I very much respect that. I respect the dedication of the bit.
Yeah, this team gets redonkulous style points.
Also, it's always good to see. I like seeing at least one person do a Trick Room team, and this is at its heart a Trick Room team.
Yeah,
because it's a Mega Fisk Melmetal. Like that's very much a very good Trick Room core. Cresselia also being a very good Trick Room setter. The fact the
yeah,
secondary
you've
setter is
got some.
Victini is like slightly awkward. Cause like
Yeah, but then you've got tertiary abuser in Thal Enamorous.
yeah. So like it's just the thing that Victini is a setter. It's like it usually sets for itself.
Weird.
It's not super great at setting for other things. Like it can, but it's slightly awkward because like not having longevity or like healing wish or things like that, like classic Trick Room like hallmarks to keep your other threats alive, and then like it can U-turn into them. Like it's like if you run like fast U-turn under Trick Room, then you slow pivot out. So like that's something.
Yeah.
But so I definitely see the potential here. Let's look at the defensive profile quick. Yes, this is yet another team that has 5 mons that are weak to ice.
Yeah. And this is when we started counting, because after count, that is 5. Delta Scizor player, Delta Scyther player. Eat your hearts out.
I don't think Scizor got drafted.
I'm gonna double check that.
Wait, so I haven't seen it so far from what I remember. Oh wait,
It
no,
got
it did get
drafted in
drafted.
Abyssal.
I remember now. It's on Hao's team. Cause it's the
Yeah.
Scizor that doesn't have snow.
It only got drafted in Perfection and Abyssal.
Huh. Interesting. Anyway,